Hey, good day, year 12. Welcome to your remote learning lesson 7. The big change you can see is that there's a video to go with today's learning. Now, we've done in the previous weeks all that revision of your theorists around social diversity, and we're going to look now at applying that knowledge. Now, we call that procedural knowledge. So, in other words, how do I use what I already know about theories, ideas, and concepts in a practical way? And this week, we're going to look at how we would apply our knowledge of theories, ideas, and concepts in a looser way, actually, when we look at how we would be asked to analyze the texts. But actually, the text will be somehow linked to our understanding of social diversity. So our knowledge and theories will come into play that way. So just a reminder of some of these icons that as we go through today, to be honest, we're going to do a guided reading lesson today. So we're going to be mainly reading together, doing some note taking, underlining, highlighting, text marking, picking out answers, a bit of paraphrase and summary. So we're not going to be doing extended responses today, but we are going to be modeling together that process of active reading. So up here, if you want a title for your work today, it says, according to the article, how are social factors determining a person's use of language? So that's a bigger question that after today's guided reading, we're going to be able to answer, okay, in subsequent lessons. But our simple answer is we won't know that answer until we unpack the article. We can't know what the article is going to tell us until we read it. So we're going to use what we already know about theories to help us read and unpack an article. Okay, so we're going to be applying knowledge and skills to this task. Our knowledge of theories and concepts will help our understanding of what the writer's talking about, what their ideas are, but the skills of language level analysis that we haven't explicitly looked at this term so far, or since we've done remote learning, will also help us explain how they are presenting those ideas. Now, a little bit of a small disclaimer here. In the real exam, it's a comparison of two texts for this paper. Okay, so you would analyze two texts and how they convey meaning, how they help us understand the nature of social factors determining language, for example. But this week, we're only going to focus on one. Now, because we're going to go through this in quite a slow and steady way, it's like a gentle reading warm-up this week, okay? We're going to read the article together. I'm going to be modeling for you the process of being an active reader. We're going to be revising some of the skills of labeling and tracking ideas and concepts and clarifying understanding as we read. So we are really going on a kind of like a slow-mo today, okay? It's going to be a gentle reading warm-up. It's going to be slow and steady. So another disclaimer, really, that the article I've chosen, first of all, is longer than you would get in the exam. Okay, now I'm going for a longer article because this one's particularly rich in content. So there's going to be lots of ideas that we can steal from this article to strengthen our own understanding of social diversity in those theories. So the first disclaimer is you have two articles in the exam, and also the articles are shorter. So although we're looking at something quite big today, it's to practice the skills, but knowing that in the real exam, the articles wouldn't be this daunting, they wouldn't be this big. So on each slide, there'll be a section of the article and a series of tasks to complete. So this is where you get to discriminate, you get to press pause for as long as you need to complete the work today. Now, I'm going to just look for us to do about 15-20 minutes of reading. Okay, so if we don't finish the complete article, we're just going to stop and come back to the second part tomorrow. Okay, at the end of the lessons on this article, so once we've completed our work on this article, there will be a small quiz to check your understanding and learning. Now, I know the quiz last week was a big quiz because it was about all the knowledge of those key theorists. I think it was about 30 quiz questions. It was a bit of a beast. And I'm hoping that you're still in the process of using your learning to complete that quiz. That will be a good way to check your knowledge, okay, what you know. This week's all about procedure. How do I take what I know, what I learned in previous weeks about these ideas, these concepts, and apply it? Okay, there is also a PDF Word version of the article available. So you're going to see it broken down across the screen and across the slides, but you might prefer to print off an article if you have access to a printer, but that's not a requirement. If you can't print off, you can still just look to the screen, write your notes down on a piece of paper, write your answers and responses down in a book. Finally, I know I keep coming back to it, but it's really important. I don't want any false ideas. In the exam, you'd spend 7 to 10 minutes preparing one article. Okay, so the time we give to this process today, this week, is not reflective of how time works in the exam. Okay, we will practice in future lessons. How do I do the same processes we're going to do today, but only in 10 minutes? And really the answer to that is practice, repetition, me not talking, you just getting on and doing it. Okay, but for us today, we're going to imagine we've got one of those time turner, magic time controller things like from a fantasy movie in which we're going to slow time down. Okay, so that's 7 to 10 minutes you'd spend in a real exam. We're not playing with real exam timings today, but we are thinking about the skills of reading. Okay, my lovelies? So let's move on. Okay, so the yellow's up there to remind us this is our overarching theme, according to the article, how are social factors determining a person's use of language. But as you'll see, we've got the opening kind of like screen rip of the article. Now, the PDF version doesn't have this layout. It does have the title, but we're just going to start here. Okay, so I've got some cool questions. So I'm just going to read them through to you, and then you're going to press pause and come up with your answers. So what website is this article from? What is the title of the article? And can you tell me 3 language labels you could apply to the headline? Either sentence type, sentence function, or word classes. So press pause and do that now. Okay, lovely people. Hopefully no cheating. Hopefully you've got your own answers. But for us to go through them, I'm just going to show you how you could take those answers and frame them as sentences. Now, we're not going to do this all the way through the article today. This is going to be what we build to. But just to remind you that we're always looking at that relationship between what we identify, what we can label and understand, and how then we eventually turn it into sentences. Okay, so the first question was, what was the website? So it's really clear there in the top left-hand corner, if you're looking at the screen like I am, BBC Worklife, okay? So just to get us thinking then, as a BBC Worklife article, one of the affordances of this platform would be. So the reason we want to know where our texts are coming from in the exam is that there's going to be certain affordances, benefits, and certain constraints, certain holdbacks. So what's one of the benefits of an online article? Okay, one of the benefits is accessibility. Online articles are immediately accessible and very cost effective. Okay, so lots of big institutions, the BBC, a lot of mainstream newspapers now have an online presence. So the reality is most of your articles and the content within the exam is going to come from big institutions like the BBC, the Guardian, the Times, or depending on the topic, related websites and platforms. So it's always recognizing what's going on around the content of the written content. Okay, if they give you a page in the exam and it's got BBC Worklife really clearly as a part of it, they want you to think about that initially. Okay, so the affordances of online platforms, accessibility, the interactive nature, the ability to quickly access information. Again, we could bring another affordance, another benefit, BBC. So BBC is a recognized institution. People trust maybe the BBC. They recognize that it's a credible platform for information. So if you're coming to this article and as soon as you see BBC Worklife, one of the affordances would be credibility. We're going to trust it. Okay. But one of the constraints is, so what's a holdback? What's a negative of using a BBC Worklife? Okay, so it's quite specific. So that BBC Worklife, this isn't just a random BBC website or main page. So this is an article that suggests people have gone looking for information about how to be successful in their work life. So that could help us make decisions. We could be thinking, okay, these guys are going to be professional. These people are career minded. These people are interested in the information that's going to help them do better at work. This isn't just a random click. I haven't just followed a few random clicks and ended up here. It implies that my audience, my reader, is looking for information. Now that's important because as you see the article today, it is a big article. For an online article, it's actually really dense. There's an awful lot of content. So this writer is assuming that because you're on the BBC, you're looking for credible information. Because you're on the BBC Worklife, you are a professional. You are somebody interested enough in improving maybe your career, your work, how you work, that you have got no problem engaging with quite a dense article. Okay, but one of the constraints is it's very specific. Okay, so it's targeting a very particular audience. Also as well, with anything online, the rate of change. So actually this now could be considered an old article just because of how long it's been available. Okay, so if you want, you can copy and complete that sentence as an example of how we could turn our ideas into sentences. Okay, so we also said, well, what's the question? Sorry, what's the title? And now I'm just going to show you how you can frame that as a sentence. Okay, so the title, does your accent make you sound smarter, links to the idea that how you use language can. So actually what I've done there is I'm beginning to link my title of what I'm reading to what I'm being asked to do in the exam. So remember up there in yellow, according to the article, how are social factors determining a person's use of language? So now our link becomes the title, does your accent make you sound smarter, links to the idea that how you use language can affect how people see you. How you use language can make you seem more intelligent. Links to the idea that you can use language to create a particular social persona, that you can present yourself in a particular way. Okay, so it can be used to determine how other people perceive or judge your intelligence. Brilliant. Now, I did say about trying to find 3 labels. Okay, so I went for the obvious one. Labeling, sometimes we want to get it in there and then build up through that mark scheme. Remember, we talked about language labeling in class. It is a ladder of progression. So sentence function is worth less marks than sentence type, but it's always one of those 1 in 4 chance of getting it right. We can immediately see it by using punctuation and make a quick, accurate label. So does your accent make you sound smarter? So there's my sentence function. However, by using the interrogative, this idea of judging people is posed as a question. Okay, now as soon as you pose a question, what does that suggest? It's not a statement. So this isn't an opinion piece. It's saying your accent does make you sound smarter. If it was framed like that declarative, accents make you sound smarter, it would create a very different tone and a very different position. But our writer is deliberately here using the question to using the interrogative to create a question, which makes this article reflective. This is an article where the writer is reflecting on this idea. They've not necessarily showing agreement with it, and then they're posing it as something to be explored, to be investigated. Now, we did say you could pick up on other features. Okay, so if we just run through our interrogative, does your accent make you sound smarter? Okay, think about our noun-verb relationships to decide whether we're looking at a simple, complex, or compound sentence. Does your accent make? Okay, there's our first verb. Sorry, there's our main verb, to make. So the idea that your accent makes you sound smarter. So we've got the verb. Now, does is a verb. It's being used in the instance here to create the question, the interrogative frame. So does your accent make you sound smarter? So we've got the 2 verbs. So immediately we are looking at a complex interrogative. Okay, so we've got the does and the make. And then we want to say, well, what's the topic of this sentence? So it's the nouns that's going to help us. So accent. Okay, there's our noun, accent. So far we can label our verbs, we can label our accents. Okay, other things that you might have picked up on. Okay, so we've got the you and the your. Now, quick little reminder, you and your can be easily confused. Okay, one of these is a pronoun, one is a determiner. Okay, so a pronoun replaces a noun. Okay, and you is the pronoun. Okay, it's being used here to target the reader, to address the reader, using that kind of second person pronoun you. But your is not a pronoun. Why not? Because it's immediately followed by a noun, your accent. So it can't be a pronoun because it's not replacing the word accent. It's introducing it. It's determining the relationship between the noun and your accent is being used there then as a determiner of ownership. So we've got the determiner your, accent, noun, make is the present tense verb, you is the pronoun, make you sound smarter. So there we've got another hidden verb, sound, to sound smarter. Okay, so here it's the idea then that accents can make you sound smarter. So actually we've got that 3 verb combination, does, make, sound. So confirmation that we're looking at a complex sentence. And finally then we've got this smarter. Okay, now it's an adjective. The smarter person in the room stood out. The ER is making it comparative. smart, smarter. So we've got the final comparative adjective. Okay, so it's immediately introducing us to this idea. What are we going to be exploring in this article? Accents and how they make